Personal crowd here, but if anybody has any questions regarding Poe or Salminio,
we'll be
here. We can talk about it here.
Here, we'll be out there.
Dean
spent all afternoon baking cookies.
Yes, yes. So just remember me when you see the donation.
Poor fella.
Yeah.
Do you want to do questions?
Yeah, why not? Let's do it. Does anybody have any questions regarding Salminio or questions about somebody who's life?
We figure since we're here, you're here, we might as well visit.
Don't be shy.
Don't be shy.
Duffy's better.
Any questions, thoughts, questions, ideas you might have about Sal or about Edgar, about their lives, or even about the process of an actor, an itinerant actor, right? Who do something as insane as what you just had to witness today. So,
yeah, pretty intense night.
Wonderfully intense. Everybody dies. Isn't that nice? It's a feel-good evening.
I wish I had as much of a sweat as Duffy, but maybe the wig. He probably got a good workout there, breaking sweat.
Oh, the wig. Anyway, any thoughts, questions, ideas, or you guys just jonesing for cookies? I mean,
the ones I baked.
What inspired either one of you, with Sal and Edgar?
Okay.
What inspired you? No, I already told you. My dad. I told you the story.
Yeah, his opening soliloquy. Well, I was studying acting some years ago, and the acting teacher I had, he would come out and he would say, if you feel like you look like you can play somebody, write a story about their life and try to play them and submit to agents or whatever. And I guess, I saw Rebel Without a Cause when I was in high school in a film class, when I was like 16, 17. And I was really interested in James Dean, but there was something about Salminio that was just really like compelling, like mysterious, So I was like, he's interesting. And then years later, somebody told me, oh, has anybody told you look like Salminio? And I was a lot younger at that time. Now I'm like older and fatter, because Salminio was a pretty like petite guy. He was a lot shorter than I was. So I said, oh, Salminio, that's interesting. So I tell my acting teacher this. I'm like, hey, do you think I can play Salminio? And he comes over to me with a book and gives it to me like the next day. So then I looked at it and I started discovering all these things about him. And I really put it down on paper a couple years ago. But I was flirting with this idea for like 8 years, but I had the kind of guts to put it on paper a couple years ago. So that's where I was coming from. Yeah. So, and I guess you answered the Poe thing, or if you want to expand.
Yeah. No, the thing that Dean said, these characters have to come to you. You can read up about a character. You can say, oh, I want to do Vince Lombardi for the longest time. I got 7 shows. I wanted to do Vince Lombardi, and I'm telling you, the door was shut. Couldn't do it. I mean, I'm reading biographies. I'm identifying with him. We have a lot in common, and I'm like, this is going to be a cool show. I mean, I'm actually writing it in my head, but the invitation wasn't there. And at that time, this is how somebody gives you the book. I was reading all these bios, right? And I'm waiting for an open line, because with the Poe it was open. I mean, I swear Poe came to me in the middle of the night and started reciting the Raven to me. But it was a Saturday morning, and I'm gonna do this show, and I'm thinking of what I'm gonna do next. And I'm reading all these bios, and I'm looking for a hit. I'm looking for a cue. I'm looking for the universe to tell me. And I walk in, I do a lot of libraries, because I do Poe, right? So I'm in a library bookstore. They all have their bookstores, and they're all small bookstores. And I always go to the bio section, because that's what I do. And there's only like 8 biographies, because they only have 200 books. So I go over to the biography section, and I'm reading all these bios, and I'm like, God, who should I do? Who should I do? And I look up, and there's a George Burns book. And I go, oh God, I love George Burns. I love George Burns. And I've been thinking about doing George Burns for a year at that time. And I buy the book. The next week, it's another Saturday morning. I'm in another city, in another library, going to perform Poe probably. And I go into the bookstore. And now I think, oh, wouldn't it be hilarious if there was a George Burns book here? And I looked up, and they only have 8 bios, right? And there's a George Burns book. And it's a different book. And it's a different biography. And they're only $1, right? I'm like, okay. 3rd Saturday in a row, I'm in another city, going to get ready to do another show. I walk into the bookstore now, and now this time I'm prepared. I'm looking down because I'm so sure that there's going to be a George Burns book. And I'm like, if there's a George Burns book, then I'm starting work on this tomorrow. They had like 3 bios, and there was a George Burns book. And I said, okay. And that show took me a year to get it all together because there's so much music, and I had to learn how to tap dance and all that stuff. But it was the easiest show to do. And I do it all over the place, and it's a blast. And I tell you, George wanted me to do it. I really felt that. Groucho did not want me to do it. Groucho was like, you can read all the bios you want, but you ain't doing it. And that's what I felt. But that's the invitation you need. So and I'm not at all surprised that someone else just hands you the book and you go, okay. Yeah. Any other thoughts, questions? Young lady right there.
When you developed the show, was it always a combination of your personal life and Poe, or did it kind of evolve?
This is the first time I did that. I usually just walk out and do Poe.
Right, but it probably has to be personal to somebody.
Oh, in terms of
your father.
Well, it has to be, because I mean, if you're going to be emotional, you know, the emotion comes up, and that's my emotion, right? That's not Poe's emotion. Poe is dead. You know, I don't have access to his emotional memory. I guess in the collective unconscious I do. You know, Jung would say I do. But I have pain. I have loss, and you can't tell the difference. If I'm speaking Poe's lines and I'm grieving the loss of my father, you don't know I'm not grieving Virginia. So in acting, you have to be logical, but you don't have to be literal. So it has to logically work, but it doesn't have to be literal. I don't have to find a girlfriend who died when she was 26 that I was madly in love with, you know, in order for it to work. So yeah, so it's all personal. I mean, you're going out there, that's not a pretty side of me, but that's me, you know, in Poe's words. You know what I mean? So you find those weird sort of stuff about you, and you pull it out. You allow yourself to share it, because we all have it. You know, we all have it.
And like with the Barrymore brothers, they were Lionel and Ethel Barrymore. They would do this scene, and they would do Broadway together. I know everybody's got to run. And there was a scene where they would get angry with each other. And a reporter or somebody came over and said, "How come you get so angry with your brother, you know, in that scene?" And then he says, "Oh, well, you know, he wears it when I see him at home. He wears this hair tie that just gets me going." So what he's saying is, like, sometimes it's off. He could be doing a scene talking about Annabelle, but he's thinking about something that pissed him off, you know, 20 years ago.
John,
yeah, you talked a little bit about your process in acting. What were the best and worst pieces of advice you ever got?
Interesting. I have a good best piece of advice. I always try to think of the positive, so I never try to think of the worst. But I remember I was doing a friend of mine, Bruce Kirby. He's the father of the late Bruno Kirby. And when I first did Sal, I'd do it for him. He liked the piece, and I'd come to his house and I'd do it. And you know, I'd say, you know, I felt like I did such a good job with you, and I feel like maybe I need to repeat this. And he said something very simple, but it's simple, and it's something we all can think of, but it spoke to me. And he said, "Dean, you know, you should never think about repeating. You know," he says, "just go through the steps that got you to that place. Just follow the steps." So I thought that was a nice piece of advice.
you know, you can't. They always want you to hit the big money moment. You know, lights, camera, action, and you got to walk up to the grave site, and you got to bring all the tears down. Oh my God, can you imagine? There's 50 people, lighting people, everybody's standing there and watching, and you can't do that, you know, like that. So you just do the rehearsal in your mind, and you bring yourself to that place, little at a time. You know, and then the light's coming on, but you've started rehearsing, you know, an hour before they're doing it, before they call action, and then you just bring yourself slowly into that spot, because you can't turn it on, you can't make it happen, you can't repeat it, but you can go through the steps. So you figure about how long it's going to take them, and you start going through the steps earlier on, and then you get there. And when you get to at some point, you get to a place where your heart breaks open. For an actor, Men are very shut down. In terms of expressing your emotion, and men aren't really shut down, but that's the way we are. We don't cry in public, and it's a hard thing for a guy, and it's a hard thing for a young actor to learn, because a man, you still have to express. But once you crack that shell, my God, it's just like the floodwaters open. And now I'm emotional on an AT&T commercial. I'm not kidding you. The grandmother's calling her grandson, and I don't go weeping, but it gets me going. I'm like, whoa, because it's what we all connect on. It's that humanity. It's that beautiful thing that we all are. Let's go get some cookies, and there's wine out there too. I don't know if you're drunk, but.